Hi, Theo.
Hey, Allegra.
Thank you so much for coming down and doing this interview.
Thank you. Thanks for the popcorn. I'm just going to get it out of my teeth
You're
here.
so welcome.
Before we start filming, because I know we haven't yet.
So, you've got a new album coming out.
I do. It's called HEARTBREAK Hits, which is a pretty bold title. I actually got it from a Google search. I was just I was like, best breakup songs, you know?
Yeah.
One of the best breakup songs.
Uh-huh.
And I ended up seeing an article somewhere that was like, these 50 heartbreak hits.
Oh, that's
and
good.
I was like, heartbreak hits.
So the songs on your album, a lot of them have been around for a while, but a lot of them are really new. So
Yes.
What was your song choosing process like?
Okay, good question. So 3 of the songs are old, as in, basically, after I put my first album out in 2011, and then I did some writing for other people. In 2013, I did this tour opening for Darren, and after the tour, I started writing for my next record. But then my father passed away. I had this breakup. I had to move. A lot of things in my life just kind of crashed, and I took a break. I just needed to get my head together, and I moved to Michigan from New York, and kind of incubated there for 8 months and didn't really write anything. I was kind of just going through that whole what's going on in my life thing, So then I moved out to LA December 2014, and I started writing almost immediately, and I wrote 6 new songs and then more than that I didn't put on the record. But I basically chose from the selection I had what I thought were a strong 10 that really felt like a cohesive thing. That being said, there are a lot of stylistic differences between the different tracks on the record, but I do feel like this 10 was cohesive. So does that answer the question?
Yeah,
it was
what are the old 3?
The old 3 are Lost and Found, As the Romans Do, which I played on the Darren tour. I had just written that. And actually one called My One Bedroom, which I don't know how much I played that live.
Yeah.
So I think that'll feel new to a lot of people.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the new ones.
Nope. Little known fact, Wolfpack was my backing band before it became my band. It's fun. It's a scene.
Speaking of the scene, you
Yes.
have a lot of awesome people playing on your record. It's such a full, amazing sound. So who did you get on the tracks?
I have Joe Dart on the Fender bass. Woody Goss plays all the acoustic piano on the record, which Woody sounds amazing on it. Woody Goss on piano. Woody plays Wurlitzer on one track, Break Up Together. The rest of the Wurlitzer is my friend Lee Pardini, who is now in the band Dawes. And Lee is another one of my favorite musicians. I play the drums and the guitars on the record. And then Mike G and Laura Mace are the 2 singers who LA people will notice them. They're
around.
They're around, and 2 of my favorites. I recorded them in the 3 of us together around a single mic in an Omni pattern, and then double tracked it and panned it, which is the way Crosby, Stills and Nash did a lot of their vocals. So it has a cool sound.
That's a really cool sound. So you recorded a lot of the stuff with Tyler, but you also recorded some of the stuff yourself?
Yeah, that's a good question. I did all the rhythm tracks with Tyler in Michigan, and then I did basically all the vocals myself in Los Angeles. And part of that is just I don't know, doing vocals in your room can be nice. You just get in the zone and there's no one around, and sometimes I'll do it until I get it right. I will, and sometimes that takes a couple tries.
So something you said to me when I interviewed Wolfpack in New York that basically changed my life. Not even kidding.
Whoa! It didn't just offend you or something?
No, it changed. It basically was really made an impact.
Oh, cool.
You can go and reach out to people you admire and stuff, but it's also really important to grow and build a community of your peers around you.
I think so.
Would you mind just expanding on that?
Yeah,
I think that's
sure.
Such an important message.
At some point, I realized, I think when I was in jazz school, people would, talk about the greats and all this stuff. And I started to realize that my favorite records across any genre always came from scenes. Like, even in jazz, we tend to think in jazz, for whatever reason, like it's about just being a total badass, coming in and just nailing it. Like, one take, don't need to know anybody in the room. You can read anything, you can play anything, right? But then when you look a little deeper into some of the greatest albums, it's really like bands, scenes of people that were hanging together, playing together, living together in some cases. So, like, I started realizing that was the thread. The band, Crosby, Stills and Nash, my favorite Coltrane records, my favorite Miles Davis records, Broken Social Scene, Feist, Maki. That was a big one. Is realizing, like Jamie Liddell, like these are crews of people. You start, and something I hope is, unfortunately, I think it's maybe going out of style a little bit, is the liner notes thing. Yeah. But like, you read liner notes and it's like, whoa, you start drawing all these lines. So in college, at some point, I realized that the scene was what it was about, and around that time, I met Jack, and I was already working with Joe Dart, and I was working with Woody, and we kind of, now that became Wolfpack, but beyond Wolf, there were also other people who I would consider a part of it. Tyler Duncan, Devin Kerr, who's now Good Hurts, Plugins. We all kind of were realizing this together, and I remember, it's not like we had weekly meetings where we were like, hear ye, build a scene. But I do remember, like, really feeling like we could do something with this, because it was like, well, look who's represented here. Amazing bass player, two guys who play a couple instruments. This guy masters records like as good as anybody. This dude's a great mixer. It's like, we have every base covered here. Let's do it, you know? And that was sort of the beginning impetus of it. And then, honestly, as we started to get out into the world, there would be instances where you'd hire someone else to mix something, hire someone else to master something. You do this, and you find out, like, it's not as good.
Right.
And why is it not as good? Well, in some instances, it's because that person doesn't really care.
Right.
They're just getting a paycheck. And I'm nothing against being a professional, okay? That's not what I'm saying here. But I am saying, like, if you're a young musician, and this goes for any creative person in college particularly. I mean, right now, we're at your college house, right? You just were like, oh, yeah, this guy's in video games. This woman is in drama. This one is screenwriter. And it's like, you guys are actually going to be, quite literally, the next generation of people doing the thing in your respective fields. So that's the benefit of college. If you're in college, like, don't waste your time trying to hit the, get on the radar of somebody who's 4 generations ahead of you. That's cool if it happens, but, like, build your scene, because you have these incredible resources. And, like, my own personal network from college is ridiculous. Like, actors, musicians, chemists, I don't know, probably. People who design the internet, people who go on to work at Google and Twitter. Like, and it's not about name dropping. It's about really just, like, realizing you have these resources in each other, and if you build it, it can be like that much more special, and you can, I don't know, to me that's the bomb. I
totally, and I think what you've done with that scene and what you've created out of that, and who you have surrounding you, is a big inspiration for me to seek out similar people in my life and try and echo that in whatever way we can.
That's so cool. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm really proud of it. If I contributed one thing to the scene that we have, I know that it was my vocal support of the fact that we should be building a scene.
Yes.
I mean, I lived with Devin in his house that he turned into a studio, and we made my first record there. Jack and I and Woody all taught at the Ann Arbor Music Center in Michigan. It's just like, and look at Lettuce or Soul Live or those groups. I mean, like I said, the Feist scene, Maki, Jamie Liddell, Broken Social Scene, Bahamas, those Toronto Canadian people. There's so many good scenes. So I really do want to encourage young artists to think in terms of their own community and what resources they have, as opposed to trying to impress people they don't know yet. Because that'll come as a product of you doing great work, you know?
So you were a multi-instrumentalist. That's sort of your thing. What were, I know drums came first and then guitar for you. And then when did you decide to just start picking up everything you could and just incorporating that into your practice?
Good question. Well, yes, the drums were my first instrument. Well, I was started on piano when I was 7. I really hated practicing.
Didn't we all?
I know. It's tough because the music they give you is drag. So you're just like, twee, dee, 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 dee. I remember being like, this is a drag, man. This melody's cool, but I've heard it. It's Mary Had a Little Lamb, you know? I was bored. And then I played clarinet. I don't know why. And then when I heard Zeppelin when I was 12, I totally freaked out and was like, I have to play the drums. And my dad could tell I was really into it. So, but your question was, when did the other things happen? So when I was in college, I was there to study drums, and I was feeling confused, as I often have, about what my identity is as a musician. And I told my teacher, like, I need to focus on guitar. And they were like, oh man, we were like counting on you to be the drummer. And I was like, I know, I'm a weirdo, like, let me do a song thing. And they were like, fine. So they let me do that too. But then I had a bass in the house, and I started playing bass, and I kind of was like, oh my God, I'm really supposed to be a bass player. This is drums on a guitar. The electric bass is drums on a guitar, is how I think of it. And it's single note, and I always hear harmony in terms of bass note anyway, and it's melodic, it's groove. I mean, and I was sort of almost considering like really, 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 really putting everything I had into bass. But over the years, I've just found that everything else will sort of fall away, and I can't help but play guitar.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessarily the thing I'm the best at. It's just I can't not grab it.
Yeah, but you're really good.
Well, thanks. I know I have a voice on guitar, and I'm working on it, but I just mean like my inclination as a musician is way more on drums or bass. But yet when I play guitar, I just find that if 2 weeks go by and I don't play bass, I'm not that upset.
Yeah.
But I can't not go like a day without playing guitar. And also part of it, and my little joke with Joe Dart, is that I met Joe, and so I simply had no more use for my bass. I hung my bass on the wall. I simply had no more use for it.
As you have stated in many a video or whatever, you were a tenor.
What makes you think I'm a tenor?
So, did it take you a long time to sort of find your voice in that manner? And what did it take? Was it a process?
Yeah. Oh man, totally. I mean, I'm not trying to be cliche here, but I really feel like I'm still finding my voice. I saw a video of Emily King recently, who, if you're not familiar with her, you need to stop what you're doing right now and look her up. She's incredible.
Yeah.
I saw a video of her talking about how it's taken her a long time to even write songs that are even in her range. Like, she would write stuff that was out of her range. And I, like, heard that and was just like, I can barely sing my whole new record. Like, it's all so freaking high, you know? And it's like, I actually now am performing a lot of my songs a whole step down, in some cases a third down from where I recorded them on the record. It feels better, and it's like I can really deliver there, you know? Yeah, so that's proof that I'm still very much finding my voice, but it has been a process. I've always had a high falsetto that I always had access to. I don't have a very low, I can't go very low. I mean, I know tenors who can sing way lower than I can, and I can usually sing higher than they can, but it's like my voice is not actually, my full voice range isn't actually that large, you know? It's all this falsetto stuff, which I like, but yeah, anyway, I'd say that the biggest influence on me was George Shirley, who was my vocal teacher. After I graduated from U of M, he was a professor there. He's a legend in opera. He was a tenor at the Metropolitan Opera. Obama gave him the National Medal of the Arts 2 years ago for his contribution to American music. So this guy's a big deal, and he taught me for $50 an hour. Like, life-changing teacher. That really opened up my voice. I was singing in bands and emulating Robert Plant, essentially, which is not the greatest way to... He had a one-of-a-kind voice, but, I was, really straining, and George got me to open up and understand where my mask is and the whole thing. And I used to sound like, if you hear recordings of me from my early 20s, I'd sound like I have a chunk of steak, like somebody strangling me with a skirt steak. I'm just like, oh.
At Michigan,
yeah.
I've read, and it's been posted that your major was in jazz and contemplative studies. So what's the second half of that?
Contemplative studies, good question. Well, Michigan had and maybe still has one of the only programs where it's a combined jazz studies degree with what they call contemplative practice seminar, which is essentially like an introduction to meditation practice. That was taught by a professor named Martha Travers, who is an incredible teacher. Part of the curriculum was having a seminar practice with this teacher, Martha, who was essentially introducing us to meditation practice, which I'm currently still fascinated with, and I'm kind of a half-ass meditator, and I'm actually next week going on a silent meditation retreat for 6 days.
Wow.
For my first time, so I'm excited to get my ass kicked and hopefully learn more about how to really do that. But I find I have a large interest in that, just in terms of opening space and your awareness, creativity. A lot of people that I admire are meditators, and they've talked about greater creative abilities as a result, and also lower stress, more happiness, the whole thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. So at Michigan was where you met all the guys involved, and just wondering, what do you remember your first meetings with each of them and what they were like?
I will never forget my first time meeting Woody. It was hilarious. I met Woody when he was in high school. I was a freshman. Niles North. So I was a freshman at U of M. So I was a sophomore, and the freshman class, there was a guy named Doug Stewart, amazing bass player. He's out in the Bay now. And Doug had gone to high school with Woody, and Woody was going to look at colleges, so he went and visit his friend Doug, right? And I was in a jazz combo with Doug, so he's like, "Hey, my buddy's gonna come play with us," and Woody had hair down to his ass, long hair, straight long hair.
Oh my God!
And he was just like, "Hey," I was like, "Hey man, I'm Theo," and he's like, "I'm Woody," and I was like, "You gotta be kidding me, man! You're Woody, and you have hair down to your butt, and he just played like Monk." It was just like, oh my God, this dude is a freaking animal on piano. I had no idea what the hell was going on.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That's an amazing story.
That was the first time I met Woody. The first time I met Joe Dart, I don't remember the first time I met Joe, but I remember the first time I heard Joe, and I didn't know it was Joe. Also a freak in high school. Check this out. I was at Bliss Fest in northern Michigan with my then band, My Dear Disco. And we were playing the late night set, we were attending the late night tent set. We had played before that. We go to the late night tent, and there's a band playing, kind of jam band vibe. Mm-hmm. And I remember being like, we were all kind of like, "Whoa, how's the band?" Sizing everybody up, like stupid ego bull crap.
You can swear. It's the internet.
Okay, it's the internet.
Yeah.
Anyway. And I remember somebody being like, "Oh, what do you think of this band, man?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Wait, but the bass player is a freaking animal." And then it just kept being like, "Wow, who is the bass player?" And we just kept, all of us were just like, this bass player is crushing it. And it turns out, I would find out 5 years later, it was 14-year-old Joe Dart.
Oh my God.
14-year-old Joe Dart. Like in his hometown, and I was 8 hours away from where I lived or whatever, 6 hours away, just like grooving to 14-year-old Joe Dart. And I actually the other day somehow looked at my Facebook messages, which I don't do enough. I do enough for my own sanity, but not enough to keep up with the way things really are in the world, but I'm working on that. Mm-hmm. Joe, I had a message from Joe. I looked at a message. I was like, "Whoa, some from Joe. Like we were tagged on some thread. I clicked Joe Dart. I'm like, I wonder how many times I messaged Joe. Because Joe and I are actual friends, so we don't only communicate through Facebook, right? Yeah. And I saw there were 2 messages. One was the one that had just gotten sent. The one before that was like 2010. And it was like, hey, man, great to meet you yesterday. Let's start a funk band. It was like, let's make some funk music.
That is a historical artifact.
I wanted to print it. It's like,
do it.
I should look it up right now. Here it is. January 17th, 2010. Theo, it was so awesome playing with you, man. I'd love to jam sometime soon. My number is blah, blah, blah. Let's make some funk.
That's so cute.
Joe Dart, we did it, bro. We made some funk.
I read in your interview that you did with Kendall, which is really good, about, you had this huge experience working in LA trying to make it as sort of like a writer and producer, and a lot of these projects never saw the light of day. But did working on any of them, influence the sounds of the new record?
I think that working as trying to cut my teeth as a writer-producer made me a better writer and a better producer. I don't feel that there's much of any real sonic influence from trying to make contemporary pop, like top 40 pop, to the stuff I'm making. It's just not sonically top 40 pop. But I do think it made me better as a songwriter. It made me more just get in the room and make something, and you find out if you sit down in the chair of hoping to get the muse, you will get there. You will get something. And so that definitely influenced me for the better. I also think it was influential for me to see what I didn't want to do, which was that. I don't really want to do that. I do love writing for other artists, but only when it's somebody who really wants to work with me. I found it's just when I'm going hey, man, let me do it. Yeah. It's usually ugh. So that was most of what I was doing, is trying to get in the room, and then it ended up just, it was none of it panned out. And the beautiful irony is that the thing that was the easiest, which is just making music with my friends, which turned into Wolfpack, has been the most successful. So for me, it's a clear message from the universe, and I'm trying to let everything else in my life reflect that kind of approach, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So with Wolfpack getting as big as it is, I mean, you guys just announced a massive tour. And,
That's right. Massive.
Biggest one yet.
It is the biggest one yet.
Very exciting. I mean, I remember when you guys sold out the Satellite, just thinking this is gonna be something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So totally. That's cool to see that. It's cool to see that happening. But with Wolf, as sort of resolutely successful it is, does that give you a sort of safety net in terms of the freedom to pursue other stuff with the knowledge that you can always have this awesome other thing to fall back on?
Yeah. Good question. I am currently realizing that that's true. I think this week. That's part of what I was hanging out with Jack and Corey talking about last night, just scheming 2017. What does Wolf look like? What does my thing look like? How do we balance the two?
Right.
Jack is the leader of the band, and both Jack and Joe and Woody, all of them are super supportive of me doing my own thing. And that's actually been the vision from the start. Right. Jack just wanted Wolf to be this awesome, fun thing for everyone, all the fans, but also the members.
Right.
And part of the reason that we were careful not to be a band officially early on is because we didn't want to put that kind of pressure on it. I had already been in a couple failed bands. We were all kind of burnt out on band, which I have a ton of respect for, and I did several times. So I totally get it. I think I'm going to start looking at it that way. I'm going to start looking at it like I can be more selective with what I want to do with my own project. I can be more selective with the opportunities that I choose to do outside of my project and Wolf, And so far I made that switch in my spirit to say I'm just going to work on stuff I want to do. And that's it. And then, it starts to have a great snowball effect. I'm working on Antoine's new record with him, with Tyler. I have my hand in a couple things that I'm excited about, and then the rest of it is my thing in Wolf, and it's so joyous. I can't really believe it's happening. I really feel like I'm living the dream right now. Living it, actually living it. Yeah, the dream has always been to do to do it.
Yes.
Like process versus outcome. And it's easy to get thrown off that, and you think success is like this plateau you reach, and it's just not. So yeah, I think Wolf is allowing me to have more freedom in my own pursuit, which I'm excited about. And part of my hang last night with Jack and Corey was, I seek a lot of counsel from Jack and vice versa. And everyone in my scene, like we are building this together, and so I'll be like, Jack, what do you think is the right move for me to do on this? And he's totally gracious with his opinion, like it's great.
So this is just a totally random question that I'm interested in, but like, playing a you show and playing a Wolf show, they're different. You got different outfits and stuff. So
yeah. What's up with that?
No, just like what's the difference in the mindset you have going into those different types of gigs,
right,
versus even doing Sideman stuff like I've seen you play sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I love music, so I love doing kind of all of it. When I play as a Sideman, I feel like I'm just really trying to serve the song and serve the artist. So that role usually defines itself, when based on what is needed in the music. With Wolfpack, it's a side of me that I almost didn't know I had, and Jack has really opened me up to it. It's like this crazy sort of no holds barred, like serious risk taking on the almost improv comedy front.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I think of myself as a funny guy, and I have a ton of fun wearing that kind of hat. And it's not like it's a joke, but it's just very freewheeling, and we're almost doing like performance art, making people feel uncomfortable, almost like it's like some Andy Kaufman thing sometimes, which I really love. So that's what Wolf is, and that hat is like a great hat to put on. I feel like when I step into the character of myself, I'm less stepping into a character, and I'm more just being me.
Right.
In my own no holds barred way, which has definitely been very influenced by Wolf shows, because I feel just more like I can be funny in my own music. Like, I thought for a long time, like I'm a serious singer-songwriter, like, and I remember seeing Ingrid Michaelson play, and it was like almost like it's like she's so funny in between songs that I almost couldn't handle it, because it was like I would go from being like just laughing my ass off to like feeling like somebody just punched me in the heart, like like, oh my God, So, but I love that kind of thing. I think it's just like, it's like be the best you can be fully you, that's what I think of it as. And so, yeah, I sometimes wear a different outfit with Wolf. I try to play up the bro tank guy, tank bro. And then with my project, I usually wear a tank and put a denim jacket over it. So I'm denim bro tank guy. All flavors of bro.
To end the interview, I have some sort of rapid fire questions. Your album is coming out right around the New Year. So do you have any like New Year's resolutions?
Yes. Hell yes or no is the first one, which means if it's not a hell yes, it's a no.
't really good.
Want to stick to that.
Yeah.
It's not an original. I got that from Derek Sivers. I want to write every day before I do anything else, which
artist way.
Yeah, which that process yielded my record. And then, when you start to like think about promotion and all this stuff, you fall off that, and then you're not writing, and then what's the point?
Right.
So my resolutions are daily writing practice. Daily writing practice. What else I say? I get so easily distracted. Daily writing practice, hell yes or no, and make another album by the end of the year.
Ooh. So what do you hope that listeners take away from Heartbreak Hits?
Good question. I hope that listeners love the songs. I hope that I know the songs are good, and I know they're well written, and I know the sounds are really good, and the album was mixed incredibly well by Tyler Duncan. And ultimately, all that is cool, but you just hope when I write songs and I release a record, I hope that it really gets into people's hearts. The things that I love, I can't get them out of my head and my heart, and they're always there.
Yeah.
I hope that Heartbreak Hits will be that for someone.
Yeah.
And I also hope that people will find some of their own catharsis in the songs, which are a mixture of satire, sincerity, darkness, and light, all having to do with the idea of like loss of expectation. It's not a finger pointing at any one thing. It's just like we all go through these lows, and I want to try to I'm hoping the songs shed some positivity on it.
For sure. So I saw you in Chicago a bunch in high school, which was really special for me.
Sick.
So are you planning to take these songs out on the road in any capacity?
Yes, definitely. I have, I just did a short tour with Joey.
Yes.
I will be going on tour, and I will be probably keeping it succinct, playing markets that I know I have people who will come out in, and building it that way. The luxury of my situation is that I will be doing more extensive touring with Wolf.
Yeah.
So I can afford to say, we're going to do a 1 week run, and we're doing these 4 towns, and that's it, and I'm going to try to do that a couple times. I'm going to try to hit the West Coast, East Coast, and Midwest in 2017. Yeah.
So I've got some fan cues from the Wolf Pack on Facebook.
Love fan cues.
Yes. So, number 1, what is your favorite salad?
Corporate or homemade?
Go homemade.
I'm going to do both.
Okay.
My favorite corporate salad is the Tender Greens Chinese chicken salad sub salt and pepper chicken. Tender Greens is actually really good.
I'm really hungry right now.
It's so good. Okay. That's maybe it's not fair to say corporate salad, but I mean from a chain.
Yes.
That is a no joke, really well done salad.
Yeah.
My favorite personal salad that I would make would be an arugula salad with roasted chicken, homemade roasted chicken, and a lemon vinaigrette that you make with lemon juice, olive oil, and maybe a little bit of like a thicker, more aged balsamic, and then you gotta hit it with pretty nice Parmesan cheese, finely shaved.
Sounds really good.
And if you can get any kind of crispy onions in there, even better.
Yes. All right. Fan question number 2. What's your favorite dog?
Oh, my favorite dog. My favorite dog is, I don't know if I have a favorite dog. I haven't met a dog I have not liked. I do love Boston Terriers. I just want to grab them. I don't know. Every time I see them, I'm like, come here, man. I also love pit bulls. So maybe some weird combination of a pit bull and a Boston Terrier.
All right. And last fan question. What is your favorite record of 2016? That's not one you played on, I guess.
That came out in 2016?
Yeah. Or maybe even the one that's relatively recent but meant the most to you this year.
In this year?
Yeah, this year.
My favorite album of 2016 probably, for me, it came out in 2015, it turns out. I think Something More Than Free by Jason Isbell. That's been a really inspiring album for me.
Well, everyone should go listen to it.
Please do.
All right. Thank you so much for an amazing interview with you. Everybody buy Heartbreak Hits out January 6th.
And I'll be at the Bootleg on January 26th.
It's going to be a good gig. I'll be there. All right.
Aren't there no nerve endings on it or something like that? All right. Hey, if you're on the WebMD, tell me how many nerve endings are on the vocal cords.
Okay.
I love women, man. Future is female. A tornado flew around my room. That kind of thing.